Hello YouTube, Regent Rider here. Hope everyone had a good week. I didn't motovlog last week, I don't think. I had a little bit too much stuff going on, but it's getting close to Sturgis, so I wanted to get in some vlogging time in, because I'm not quite sure how much time I'll have to upload stuff once I'm there. It's July 23rd today, so getting close. We're leaving on the 2nd. A whole group of us riding out there. So anyway, I wanted to get some videos in. I didn't really want to put archive stuff up there, video things that I edited out of other videos, because I don't know, I goofed or something. Anyway, hope everyone's doing okay. Actually, I had a lot of views in my last video. I was kind of surprised by that, and I gained a subscriber. So whoever subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. I'm not looking to be a YouTube celebrity or anything, but I mainly created this YouTube channel because I thought it'd be something fun to do, and I have a lot of friends who have moved to other parts of the country. So this is a way that they can hear my stupid voice, without me having to call them. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about today in this video is some interesting news I heard, or I read actually, when I read the financial reports this week. So this week was quarterly 10K report week for some companies, and two of the companies that reported this week were Polaris, which owns Indian Motorcycles, and Harley Davidson. And I mean, it's certainly not at alarmist level yet, but Harley's been having a little bit of trouble lately. Their bike sales are down. They're actually lower than what their lower projections originally said they were going to be, which is always bad. And in the report, they said that they now occupy or own about 48% of the 600 plus cc market, which that sounds like a good thing, except for the fact that 2 or 3 years ago they owned over 50%. I think the last time I really paid attention to that number, it was in 2015 or 2016, probably 2015, and they owned a little over 52%. So they've lost 4% market share in either a year or 2 years. I think it's 2 years. Meanwhile, their opponents over at Polaris have posted another double-digit gain in sales of Indians. So they posted that year over year, even though they have overall decline in sales, part of that has to do with less than expected sales of slingshots, and of course they did, Axe Victory, but they had 17% year-over-year sales increase this year. Now there's a lot of people who are Indian diehards who are now touting, oh, this is the end of Harley. Indian's going to come back and take control of Harley. I mean, that's a slight bit premature. I believe Harley still sells around 5 or 6 times as many bikes as Polaris does. But didn't see any record increase in motorcycle sales from BMW, Yamaha, or Honda, at least in the 600 plus. Wow, this part of the road got really shaky. Anyway, 600 plus cc market. So you could draw the conclusion that Polaris took about 4% of Harley sales year over year, which is interesting. It's bad for Harley and bad for the people who work at Harley, because I'm sure they're going to have to cut back on production a little bit. But it's really good for Indian, and it's really good for the motorcycle industry as a whole. You know, without competition, I have no idea what this guy's doing. His turning signal's on, and he's passing me in the left lane. I don't know, he drives like an idiot. See, he's got the blinkers on. Anyway, competition breeds innovation. Now, I wouldn't sit there and say that Harley doesn't innovate. I know a lot of Harley haters say that, you know, their technology's out of date or whatever, but, I mean, that may have been true at one time. Maybe they got too comfortable in their dominance of their sector. But, you know, modern Harley-Davidsons, especially with the Milwaukee 8 engine, I mean, they're right up there with other engines. I mean, they had to actually add vibration into the Milwaukee 8 to satisfy their old school fans. I have my own, you know, things about the Milwaukee 8 that I have issues with. None of them are, you know, something that, you know, would stop me from saying that it's a great engine, or the new bikes aren't fantastic. They are. But I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect motorcycle, so there are things about it that I don't like. Anyway, they innovate. I mean, up until the Indian copied, and they did copy Harley with the Boom Audio versus the Ride Command in the Indian. This was the nicest infotainment system you could buy on a motorcycle. You know, Harleys have ABS security systems. Some of them have, you know, power locks on them. You know, with the combination of stuff on Harleys plus the aftermarket stuff, I mean, you're not buying, you know, a motorcycle that has 50-year-old technology in it. That's just a load of garbage to people who don't like Harleys say. But, you know, on the other hand, you look at Indian, and they've certainly had I certainly have my share of gripes with Indian, but, you know, a lot of that stuff they've actually addressed. Not quite to the level that would be the same as Harley on the things that I don't like Indians about. And again, there's a strong possibility that my next bike will be an Indian, so it's not like any of the complaints I have about them are something that would stop me from purchasing one. But I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect motorcycle, is my point. And I think Harley's big problem, and I mean, I'm certainly no expert in analysis of motorcycle sales. I'm a novice. You know, I just read a lot of different articles and videos on the internet, and, you know, form my own opinions. But a lot of people seem to say that the problem with Harley is that their main customer base are a bunch of old fat guys. But not to put too sharp a point on it, you know, I get the fat guy part's kind of harsh, but older 50-plus-year-old riders who, you know, as they're gaining in age, you know, they don't necessarily want to be dropping money on a new motorcycle. They're starting to plan for their retirement, or they may think that they're too old to ride or whatever. So their sales are going down. So Harley, in their opinion, its big problem is that they need to attract young riders to entice them to buy new Harley-Davidson motorcycles. And I think that that's the same problem that if Harley and Indian, had the same user base, they would have the same problem, because right now Indians cost just as much, if not more, than their comparable Harley-Davidson, and they're big giant V-twin motorcycles just like this one. So Indian's enjoying a lot of sales increase at the expense of Harley, not necessarily because they're doing things that Harley isn't, but it's a different company, it's something different, and some people who may be adverse to buying a foreign bike gets turned to Indian because they're an American motorcycle company, and they do make a product that is competitive with Harley. So it's not like if you buy an Indian, like the equivalent of this bike is the Chieftain. It's not like if you buy a Chieftain, you're getting a piece of crap on two wheels. It has a great engine, has great suspension, great transmission, has a ton of standard features, more than actually this bike does. So it's a worthy competitor, and people always like to try the latest, greatest thing. So of course Indian's taking advantage of that. But if Indian had never gone out of business and they were just as established as Harley, they would be suffering the same problems Harley is, and that's attracting young riders. I'm not a millennial, so I don't quite know what goes through the mind of millennials. But I think a lot of millennials who are interested in motorcycles, I don't think they're necessarily turned off by getting a Harley. I think they're turned off on getting a new Harley. Because I did check on the Indiana State's government site, and motorcycle endorsements are up. They've been going up every year for the past, I think, 5 years now. So obviously there's more people. I mean, Indiana it's 1 out of 50 states, but it's still, that shows that there's new people who are interested in riding. I think the problem is that they're not interested in buying new motorcycles because they don't want to drop $20,000 or $30,000 on a new bike. I know that the Harley-Davidson dealership that I go to, shout out to Calumet Harley because they're awesome, and I know some people over at Valparaiso Harley, they sell a lot of used bikes. One of the sales guys, I won't say who or what dealership, said, last month they sold a lot more used bikes than they did new bikes. So, I mean, that's good for the dealership, and that's good for Harley for aftermarket parts, but that doesn't help their financial reports when they have to report that their new motorcycle sales are down. So there's a lot of speculation as to what Harley is going to do to actually, that guy right there, he drives Uber. He was actually the guy who I took when I picked up my bike from air storage. Anyway, there's a lot that they're trying to do to entice new riders to Harley-Davidson. I know that there are rumors floating around the internet that they may buy Ducati. Ducati's on the market because Volkswagen cheated with their emissions and fuel reporting. I don't know what the term is for when they report the miles per gallon of their vehicles. With their diesels, they got caught cheating. So they have this enormous penalty coming up, and it's in the, I'm not 100% sure, but I remember them saying it's in the billions of dollars that's going to cost them in penalties. So, and they have to buy, if they can't fix the existing cars affected by that, they have to buy them back from their purchasers and sell them to other countries. So I mean, it's a huge shitburger for Volkswagen, and as a result, they're trying to sell off assets that they can make a profit on and kind of soften the blow of the penalties they have to pay. And one thing Volkswagen owns that they've announced that they're going to put on the market is Ducati. So there's a lot of people, freaked out because Harley-Davidson really hasn't done that good of a job when they purchase other motorcycle manufacturers. They tried it with, I think, MV Agusta. That was a disaster. They tried it with Buell. That was a disaster. But I think the situation in this particular case is a little bit different, just because Ducati is A, an established brand, and B, it's a viable company. I don't think that the other companies that Harley bought when they bought them were viable. I think they were, in financial trouble, and Harley came in thinking that, we can rescue this company and turn it into something, so we'll buy it for a song and then, turn it around, and they couldn't get it done. But in Ducati's case, they are a viable motorcycle manufacturer. For a long time, Ducati loyalists would stir the pot on the internet saying, one day coming up soon, Ducati will be bigger than Harley-Davidson. Well, I mean, that's impossible. I guess it's possible if they had record sales for the next 80 years, they would eventually pass Harley-Davidson. But my point is they're a viable entity. They make money every year. They have a tremendous portfolio as far as products go. I'm personally not a sport bike rider, but I can appreciate the engineering and quality of Ducatis. They're pretty nice bikes. So I think if Harley bought Ducati, the only real risk to Harley would be if they screwed it up, by swapping out all the management and, diluting the brand somehow. But I don't think that's their intent. I think their intent is kind of if they do choose to go and buy Ducati, is to purchase Ducati, maybe sell them at Harley-Davidson dealerships, but kind of leave them alone and just use them as a mechanism to target a different market with a product that they don't excel in. Harley doesn't make sport bikes. So if you want to get into the sport bike market, well, there's two ways to do that. You either buy a company that makes sport bikes, or you start building them yourself. And I don't think Harley has the engineering talent to build sport bikes. Not to say that the Harley engineers are bad. They're some of the best engineers in the world, but you don't take an engineering team that makes speedboats and say, well, yeah, you can turn around and make a Formula One race car. They're different. Just because it's on two wheels doesn't mean that all bikes are engineered the same. So I think it would be good if they bought Ducati. I don't know how much Ducati's selling for. Probably a lot of money. But I'm sure Harley, if they're really serious about it, they've already, dived into the financials. The only risk, and this happens a lot, it's happened a lot in the history of the United States, is when two viable companies merge, or one buys the other one, and then they both end up falling apart because of a pissing contest between management. One of the biggest cases that comes to my mind, and this is before I was born, or probably anyone watching this video was born, was when Studebaker bought Packard. Both of those were great companies at the time that happened, but Studebaker ruined Packard. And Packard was a a premium luxury automobile, and they kind of cheapened it up. Well, they came out with cheap models in order to try to boost their sales, and it diminished the entire prestige of Packard. And eventually they became like a crappy subdivision of Studebaker, and they eventually shut them down. And it cost Studebaker so much money, along with some other mistakes that they made, that Studebaker eventually went out of business. So that is a possibility that could happen, especially since Harley's an American motorcycle company with American mindset, and Ducati is an Italian motorcycle manufacturer, and they have European business perspectives. So it could end up being just a shitstorm disaster, but I think that if they do it right, it'd be very good for Harley in the long run, and it'd probably be good for Ducati, because they would have access to a dealership network beyond their wildest dreams. There's a Harley-Davidson dealership in every big town in the United States. I mean, the amount of exposure they'd have is 10 to 15 times what they have right now. So it could be really good for both companies if they don't screw it up. So I don't see the doom and gloom that some people have about Harley-Davidson in the future. I think that combined with the Ducati thing, combined with their knowing that this is a problem with their buyer base, and they've launched these initiatives to like get 2 million new riders in Harleys within the next 5 years. I think they're doing what needs to be done to attract younger buyers. I don't think that this is a sign of another shrinkage of the motorcycle market. I think it's something that Harley probably should have addressed earlier, but now Indian has kind of sped up their acknowledgement of that. I wish Indian the best. Like I said, I may get my next bike may be an Indian. I like their bikes a lot, and like I said, competition breeds innovation. And if Harley starts feeling the sting too much from Indian, they're going to start doing what they can to improve their product, so people stop buying Indians and go back to Harley-Davidson. Well, I'm coming up on my stop here, so I think I'll end this video. Hope everyone has a good work week, and I will chat with you later. This is Region Red Rider signing out.